I know that many of you enjoyed your weekend, but especially for those of you who have children graduating, family members graduating, I'm sure that you are proud of those who have graduated. And I'm talking about starting out this morning with the St. Joseph Catholic Schools, class of 2022. Congratulations to each and every one of you, and I hope that you're successful in whatever journey or whatever path that you take. And, I always look forward to seeing folks that become the new entrepreneurs, embark on business and understand that there's opportunities outside of just even a career job in government. And a special congratulations to the salutatorian and valedictorian of that respective school. In the Val was Makita Nash and Yonolin. If I pronounced the name incorrectly, I apologize. Yonolin Lawrence, who is the salutatorian. And anyway, congratulations to each and every one of you. And then, folks, I'm sure that many of you experienced the for Aliyah Boston. I spoke about this parade and having a parade not only having a parade, but to the early part of Aliyah Boston's career, recognizing that talent, knowing some of the individual that was involved in but actually honing her talent. And it was no question in my mind that she would, in fact, be successful. And I encouraged the government in the very early stages to start thinking about having a parade in her honor to encourage her, but also to encourage and inspire other athletes in the territory that with hard work comes success. Success is not achieved without hard work. And I think what Aliyah Boston accomplished on the national level, becoming an ambassador for the Virgin Islands, I felt that it was only fitting that you have a parade for her. And I'm thanking the administration, all those involved in actually spearheading that parade. I was there in a car sitting and just observing a lot of the stuff that actually took place, all the activities surrounding it. But more so I could see that Aliyah appreciated all the folks that came out, appreciated the recognition. And I think it was well deserving for her to receive these accolades. And so early in life, I know she has a lot more to accomplish. But I had another idea I wanted to throw out to the administration. I think, and the governor listens to me a lot. I know, or he has someone listening to me on the radio. And it's obvious in some of the things or the responses that come indirectly. But I wanted to just say to him that maybe we should go a little step farther with Aliyah Boston, considering that she has accomplished so much. And just this a little tidbit coming from me again. We should consider writing the U.S. Post Office to see if we could get Aliyah's Boston name on a stamp to be circulated locally. I'm not sure if there's a partnership that could be established for the purpose of having a percentage based on the sale of those stamps, and encourage our Virgin Islanders to go to the post office to buy those stamps, because it might be for a worthy cause. Maybe there could be some memorandum of understanding or something where a small percentage go to, in fact, a special fund for the young people here in the Virgin Islands. And that's just a little idea. I don't know what the barriers would be. I don't know what would stop us from being able to establish such an agreement or have such an initiative put in place. But it would be nice to see her also on a stamp that when them people come from the United States and stuff to visit the Virgin Islands and go to the post office and want to buy stamps for their mail, that they would be buying those stamps, and some of them might want it as a collector's item, because as she goes down in history, she is going to leave the collegiate level with a lot of awards. I mean, you've already seen what she has accomplished. I can't think of one female athletic award that she has not accomplished to this date. So I just felt that that's something that I would throw out this morning. Now, moving along, as you know, I often just recognize those that have now passed in the obituaries. And I just wanted to extend condolences to the respective families of Antonio Thomas, Alfred V. Rama, who have recently passed. I wanted to extend condolences to the families, as I will reiterate again. And you have Cheryl Alicia Seeley White, her family, and her condolences. And of course, I have known her in particular from the time I was a youngster. And I wanted to extend condolences in particular to Senator Celestino White, that's his sister Cheryl. Just wanted to offer condolences. And Victoria Meade Hobson, who was from Anna's Retreat, New Tutu in particular. And I've known her practically all my life. Served as a mother figure in the community. And I just wanted to pay special tribute to those persons that I know personally, but also to extend condolences to the families, because I know it's not easy losing a family member. And then we move on to Joseph Griffin. Condolences to his family as well. Now, moving on along this program, it's hurricane season. Yes, folks, it's hurricane season. And I dread that we should have any Category 5 hurricane, much less even tropical storms coming in through U.S. Virgin Islands, because the first thing that pops up in my mind is all those homeowners who have homes that are compromised. It can't possibly be a good feeling being in a home that has been totally compromised. That is just not something that an experience that I wish for anyone. And certainly I think that the community is going to have to come together. Something is going to have to be done. Because as I have said before, and I'm going to say it again, with the federal funding that the territory is receiving, and it's indicated to me that only about 5 or 6 homes have been actually built under this program. If we sit down to calculate how much money have been expended in administrative costs, which is something that I'm going to start really digging into to find out why is more money spent in administrative costs than money going into the community for those folks that can really use or benefit from that money, who should be the rightful benefactors of the money spent from the federal funds that we receive. And those are pertinent questions. Those are important questions that we need to ask of the respective agency who's charged with the responsibility of not only managing those funds, but to ensure that the true or the real, what should be the rightful benefactors, receive the money at an adequate level. Because this thing about spending over millions of dollars from the funding for the purpose of advertising, marketing, managers, this company, Armand, I'm wondering where they are, and other areas where money have been spent, and only 5 homes or 6 homes actually benefited. We should be, and if they were to come to me and tell me, no, that figure is wrong, it should be 12 homes were built, you should be ashamed. Because 12 homes from 2018 till now, and only 12 homes, something is wrong with that. That's a great disparity when it comes to the level of funding in the respective areas. So I think that is probably going to, there's probably going to be I'm kind of measuring and following a group that I have joined that may file a case in federal court in terms of fair distribution of those resources into the community versus other areas that the money have been placed. And that could potentially raise some serious issues. Because if you're telling me that you got over $1 billion, or whatever the amount is, I know it's in the millions, and possibly over $1 billion that HUD have earmarked for the U.S. Virgin Islands. And there's a great disparity between the amount that is being spent in administrative costs and the amount that people are receiving. It would be criminal if the administrative costs exceeded or have exceeded 65% of what has been expended. That's criminal. So I think that we may have to really dive into that issue to find out what are the stumbling blocks, what are in fact the impediments, what is stopping them from fast tracking this program and making sure that people are safe. Because it's not anyone or everyone is comfortable with living with someone else. That's a level of homelessness. So if we can ensure that people's homes are actually repaired to the point where those persons are in a structure that is structurally sound, that's an accomplishment. Because as I said, not everyone is comfortable in moving to live with someone else while they have a home that needed to be repaired and they're on a waiting list now going on 4 years. That is unconscionable. But until this matter is perhaps challenged in a court, I don't think that anyone is going to move and make any significant strides to try and get this thing done. So, folks, I know there are many of you out there that is listening to this is a plea to the administration and asking them to fast track that program. Because if you don't, and a hurricane should come, then another question may rise. If a person in a home didn't realize and applied for this program over 3 years ago, or 4 years ago, and they remained in the house waiting because there was some promise, and then the promise was delayed, and then they're in a quandary because they are uncertain as to whether or not they're going to get that assistance, because it's always some question that is being raised, making things complicated for homeowners. So could homeowners, if they go through a hurricane, not being sure about the extent of their homes have been compromised, and something should happen to them or a family member, could that be a liability issue? But we know the cap when it comes to applying any lawsuit against the government or any claim against the government. There's a cap. I think it's $25,000 or $50,000. With that cap, if a person lose a limb, arm, a leg, or something, and you could only claim $50,000, of course, you have the option on a civil claim against someone personally who may have been responsible in terms of being the responsible administrator. But that goes on, and we don't want it to get to that. So when you hear me prodding the administration, it's simply to get the administration to act responsibly. Fast track this program. We're in hurricane season, and I know the first thing they're going to say, oh, it makes no sense for us to start construction on a home when we're in hurricane season, because should a hurricane or tropical storm hit, it will totally disrupt the program. So, damn if you do, damn if you don't. But I believe that it's important that many of you speak out and try to force their hand into providing that assistance, because it cannot continue along this line. Now, moving along, for those of you who often look at sports, where in basketball season, the finals, and of course, my favorite team, and I have no problem saying it, is the Lakers. But the Lakers didn't do well this year. The championship is between the Celtics, Boston Celtics, and the Warriors, Golden State Warriors. They're tied now 1-1. I thought it was an exciting game last night. But they have, certainly the Warriors have changed the face of basketball. They have changed the art, and they came up with a different science. They're shooting balls from even half court and making them over 50% of the attempts. That's changing the game. But I wish for basketball fans out there and those of you who are Golden State, I think Golden State will still win it. But Boston is not just going to lay down and die. And moving along to something else now, I saw and I read an article on Apple News feed where the governor is talking about medicinal marijuana legislation or the medicinal marijuana law, and talking about the projected revenues. I think, if I'm not mistaken, they're talking about potentially $10 million a year that this industry can generate for the U.S. Virgin Islands. And the question that I ask myself is, this legislation was passed, what, about 5 years ago? Maybe more? And it took us a long time for the rules and regulations. Are the rules and regulations fully in place? Have they been implemented? But then, folks, for some of you that don't really understand what is going on, the legislature did pass legislation and the governor signed off on it. And they had a specified amount of time to, in fact, put in place to issue permits to individuals who would be patients, a patient getting a prescription from a doctor, and licensing and consumer affairs, that commission would issue a permit to be able to possess a certain amount. And that was not adhered to. So we're here still 5 or 6 years later. Now the governor is saying that he supported recreational, and I'm not sure what's going on with the recreational part of it, but legislation was sent down to the Senate to, in fact, amend the law or offer an amendment in the nature of a substitute to be able to amend the law to make it recreational and basically, I guess, medicinal. But recreational mean under possession that a lot more people would be able to possess a certain amount, not to exceed a certain amount, of course. And that is still somehow it's languishing. I'm not sure what's going on, but we could only be hopeful that maybe, just maybe, they're able to get this thing off the ground once and for all. And I wanted to take this opportunity as well, because when we talk about persons contributing to the community and wanting to give back to the community, I think of, there's a program coming up, and I wanted to just pay recognition to them, to thank them, and in particular, who I'm talking about is many of you know Lolo Milliner, where she's coming back to bring a program here to the Virgin Islands that I think that many of you may not be fully aware of, but I'm talking about a program. It's called the Healthy Encores Lifestyle, as you could see here on the screen for those of you on social media. It's Healthy Encores Lifestyle Festival. They present White Night. It's a lot of people that love to go to those white parties dressed up in all white and looking all beautiful. But let's get to the crux and the purpose of her program. And it's just encouraging people to live healthy lifestyles. And I applaud Lolo as a Virgin Islander, long-term Virgin Islander, in wanting to come back to give back to the U.S. Virgin Islands, and certainly the level of obesity in a lot of communities throughout the United States has become an issue. Us West Indians here, we love our food with high seasoning and may not pay attention to the way we eat. And what Lolo is proposing, hypertension, high blood pressure, diabetes, those things can be offset with healthy lifestyles. And that's what Lolo Milena is proposing. And you know, in the program that she's bringing to the Virgin Islands, I wanted to highlight, and folks, this is July 22nd, 2022. What I wanted to highlight about the program as well, it's something for everyone to enjoy. $25 where you're going, you have a comedy show and you get a free drink, whether it's a soda. I don't really drink, but I'm sure there are beverages that I could drink and get that free drink with my $25. But there, get this, the comedy show, the comedian, Lucas, is going to be in the house. And I think that it's going to be a wonderful evening. And I'm sure at that time she'll recognize all the sponsors in terms of the USVI, Diageo, and all the other entities that have collaborated in the form of sponsorship. But you got to applaud her because this has been going on every year. And I don't think she has been given much recognition. And along them lines, you know, one of the things that I often say, we should embrace Virgin Islanders when they want to come back home and do things, whether it's sports, whether it's entertainment, because I've always believed that sports and music, entertainment, it's an attraction for people to come from outside, but for people to come out of their homes. And Virgin Islanders, just like anywhere else, are looking for venues, looking for places to just get out. We've been cooped up over 3 years. And in being cooped up over 3 years, of course, if something comes up where we're able to come out and just celebrate. So I'm encouraging each and every one of you to come out to the Healthy Encores Lifestyle Festival that has a white night on July 22nd, 2022. And just ask for Lolo Milena. And when you walk up to her, when you see her, and thank her for the sacrifice she's making and wanted to come back home to the Virgin Islands, and as a popular radio host in Baltimore, that she's able to lure people to come down with her to the Virgin Islands and spend their dollars here in our local economy and enjoy our sand, sun, and sea. Because who would not want to take a break to come to the U.S. Virgin Islands and enjoy our ambience, enjoy all the things that we have to offer here in the Virgin Islands. So I just wanted to get that out there and spend a little time in promoting it, because that's a Virgin Islander that has come back home to give back. So folks, this morning it's basically open discussion. And what does open discussion mean? Open discussion simply means that you are afforded the opportunity to speak about whatever issues that you would like to speak about. And I'm sure that there's issues or concerns that you have here in the U.S. Virgin Islands. And even if you want to speak about something positive, it's good. I want to hear the positives. We know that we had this parade over the weekend recognizing one of our native daughters who has been able to accomplish some serious milestones in her athletic career. I'm sure there are more positive things to discuss here in the community. I know that there's concerns and issues as well. This is open discussion. I give you the opportunity, if you want to speak about anything, you're welcome to do so. So here is the question that I pose, consistent with what I just mentioned. What's on your mind? How can the government offset burdens? So when you hear me say, how can the government offset burdens? We know throughout the United States, gas prices are increasing. I was alarmed to see at one of the pumps, it's now $5.99. And you know what the gas station attendant told me? The gas station attendant told me it's supposed to be going up another $1. I had to hold my head. Another $1? I understand that California is almost approaching $8 now. If California is approaching $8, could you imagine going to the pump? It's already costing you, if you have to fill your tank, and you have premium gas that you put in your car. Could you imagine filling that tank at $5.99 or soon to be $6 and change? So this morning I'm posing the question, how can the government offset burdens? I have some ideas of my own. I'm not running for governor. You guys know that already. But that does not preclude me or stop me from offering suggestions. If they need help and they need some leadway, I don't have a problem offering my ideas. Because after all, look at it holistically. Who does it benefit? So, I mean, the government is in a position with all the federal funding that they're receiving in the Virgin Islands. Another idea I would like to throw out to the governor and his administration is that maybe that 15 cents at the pump, where if I'm not mistaken, I think it was former Senator Dow that had proposed an increase that fee at the pump, but somebody could correct me. And I know that the government is in a position to offset it, to reduce and give the people of the Virgin Islands some form of relief. Now, there's a lot of different areas that we could offset this thing. Don't wait on the federal government through the CARES Act and all these things. We have a degree of authority over our own affairs. And there's so many different ways that we can offset the burden for Virgin Islanders. It's just to put on that thinking cap and start addressing some of these issues. People are going to be confronted with the burden of property taxes while they're trying to sustain or pay other burdens that will come. Grocery prices going up, utility costs or rates are going up. Yes, we've heard in the past that there was a proposal to reduce your light bills by 38%. We haven't seen that promise being realized. So what are we doing to offset some of this stuff? Because while we talk about all the things that we've been able to accomplish, I think Virgin Islanders want to see if this could immediately affect them in providing them with some form of relief. And then moving on with some more questions, and the question I pose to the public is, how are you dealing with the increases in the cost of living? I mean, for some that live a luxury of earning a decent income, that they've been able to sustain that and still have some liquidity to put in other areas, if you want to call it disposable income. But what happened to those on fixed incomes? What happened to those persons retired that can't work a second job? What happened to those that are retired and forced to go back to work? And for some of them, vacating or leaving their home for these periods of time to be able again to work and earn a living. People are being impacted in a lot of negative ways. And we just have to find a way to offset or to provide some form of relief to Virgin Islanders, just like anywhere else. I mean, there's a lot of different appeals. And, while I'm talking about that, I know that the government of the Virgin Islands, by way of the government and governor and his administration, have encouraged another entity to take over the former Hovenza property. And of course, I've said for many years, in terms of being creative, in terms of being vigilant, that the aquifer have been somewhat contaminated because that facility or that refinery, it's in proximity to a water table. And I believe that there's been some level of contamination. We had what you call on the United States congressional or the United States level. The federal government had what you call, or Congress created what you call the Brownfield Fund. The Brownfield Fund has billions of dollars, or used to have billions of dollars in it. I think they converted it and I'll do some additional research and later on be able to provide you. But this government should be applying to the Brownfield Fund to make that somewhat a Superfund site for the purpose of cleaning up. You know how much jobs we could create for Virgin Islanders to participate in a cleanup? And how long it probably would be to clean up? And we would have a justifiable reason to ask the federal government to assist us, whether it's through EPA, to help us clean up that aquifer, in particular for the people of St. Croix. But an infusion of funds coming into the territory and eventually in the treasury for all those folks who would have been employed and paying taxes. So let me go to the telephone line at this time. Good morning, you're on the air, connect the dots.
Yes, good morning, Senator Downingsburg. How are you?
I'm fine, how are you doing?
I'm doing great, thank you. I was calling about the home repair program. I have a question. Is there a statute of limitation on the Housing and Urban Development Fund that is funding this entire program in the Virgin Islands?
Most definitely. There's always going to be a timeline on any federal funds issued, because if there isn't a timeline, then can the government assume that the federal government gave them monies to be held in perpetuity and not do anything with it? Of course. They have deadlines. I don't know what the deadlines are. But should they fail, just like the Department of Education, over the years have not expended the total dollars for a specific program under federal grant, it goes back, or the federal government would take it back at that point. So we don't want to lose money. We could use it. You know, I've said this, and I've said this repeatedly. The Virgin Islands is in such a unique and strong position in terms of the amount of dollars that we have in here. And no one should be suffering. This place should be flourishing. And I've said that repeatedly. And not really to malign anyone whatsoever. But tell me, there's an old saying, if something is not working, above all, try something else. And I've said this repeatedly. We have too much money in here, and we need to start spending it, because what it means is that a circulation of dollars going to go into the community, whether it's through the contractors that assume on this home repair program, contractors that assume responsibility. And if you're saying that contractors don't find it encouraging or inviting to participate because of the minimum that you're paying on the program, I'm sure that there's some creative minds in there that could create some incentives for them on the other side. How many contractors are owed millions of dollars, but IRB trying to choke them? So you're saying that the government owe you money, you owe the government taxes, and they're trying to choke you, but the government ain't recognizing that if you pay them on time, then they would be paying their taxes on time, because a business person, if you understand how it evolves, once they exceed a certain amount in salaries, you know, I could go on and on and on. But the answer to your question is yes, they have timelines.
Okay, so therein lies my concern, because I am one of the people on that program, and in all fairness to them, they have been telling me up to, I think it was week before last, that they are in the progress of hiring a new construction management team. I am patiently waiting, but here it is now that we're faced with another hurricane season. There has been deterioration to the house, I am sure, since they did their last inspection, because the top is all waked up on the roof. And I am worried now that, okay, the statute of limitation, I don't know if it's drawing close or not, because it's now, 4 years down the road.
Yeah.
You see?
Uh-huh.
And that's the concern of a lot of us, Senator, and there are a lot of people that speak to me on the street. I mean, I worked for the government for approximately 32 years, so I know what that system is all about. I know how it works in terms of the federal funds and the statute of limitations, and that if you don't expend those funds, they are returned to the federal government.
Yeah.
And worst case scenario, if those funds are returned to the government, to the federal government, then what happens to us and our homes that were already qualified and approved on this program?
Well, that's an answer. I mean, that's a question that only the administration can answer. I know that there's been a change in the leadership, and we can only hope with that change come vigilant efficiency and effectiveness, because I don't think that they truly understand the emotions that are tied to this program. And when I say the emotions that are tied, the number of people that are praying, that are hopeful that they could get some form of assistance on this program, because it's their only safety net, is the only relief that they see on the horizon. And should this program continue to operate the way they are operating, you're going to have a lot of folks out here with anxiety. You know what I mean? People already went through 3 disasters, quite unique here in the Virgin Islands. We had 2 Category 5 hurricanes, and on top of that, now we have the pandemic, and we're going through the disaster of the pandemic. You figured that with the pandemic and people having to be shut in homes that have been totally compromised, and they can't get no assistance, so they're getting burned in so many ways. And that's what I call gross neglect.
Yeah, I am a victim of that because I am suffering anxiety. My blood pressure has raised, and that's up to numbers passing the chart, tipping the chart, and I am really starting to get concerned, you know. And
Yeah.
the last time I saw the program, I was very, very overwhelmed when I was talking, and I was very passionate. And right now, it is very hard not to cry when you know that this home is a supplemental income, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
It's your own, and in many people's cases, it's a supplemental income. And a lot of people on this program are elderly people, and I still say that always between our elderly and our youth.
Yeah.
That's a problem to me. It's a very, very serious problem.
Yeah.
But I don't see where it's being addressed. I mean, they come and they knock on your door when it comes to voting time. They make all these promises, Senator. They get in there and you don't hear anything about the promises that they made. It's disconcerting and it's disheartening.
Yeah.
You know, and a lot of us are getting a little discouraged. Some of my friends are so depressed, and it's like pulling teeth without Novocaine to try to calm them down and to try to get them to see a light at the end of the tunnel. It's very, very difficult.
Yeah. Well,
I didn't want to burden the community with this morning, but it's just of major concern to a lot of us elderly people, you know?
Yeah, yeah. Well, thanks for calling, because, you know, the experience you're living, and I pray that you're able to receive some kind of assistance. When did you apply for that program?
I applied for it the first day I heard the announcement on WSTA that there was such a program.
So that was back in 2018, correct? Because I think WSTA made an announcement back in 2018.
And that's when I applied for that program.
That's a long time ago.
Yeah, it's 4 years ago. And since then, you know, I qualified everything, you know, I'm on the record for being on the, you know, next in line, but nothing is happening.
And in terms of the number of correspondence that you received from that organization, meaning that agency, I suspect is Virgin Islands Housing Finance Authority, correct?
Well, I haven't gotten gotten any correspondence.
So you,
I get a series of text messages. I get text messages from people at the Envision program.
yeah,
You know.
yeah,
But the bottom line is that unless this thing affects people that are in the administrations directly and personally, it seems as though everything is like on hold.
yeah, yeah,
And that doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel good at all.
yeah.
You know, it's a bad feeling.
Well, I'm hopeful that you're able to, like I said, receive the assistance that you're looking for, because I know there's a number of people just like yourself are waiting on this program to really assist them and address that need at this time. I'm very concerned and alarmed by the amount of money that is being spent from that funding, and when you put it in perspective or you try to make a comparison between the administrative costs and the actual costs for construction repairs to the homes of individuals, if you're saying that only 5 homes have been, or 5, let's say it's 12, that 12 homes have been repaired under the program, that is alarming. That is alarming, and I think it's going to draw the attention of a certain authority to evaluate the program and potentially audit the program to see if it's been working the way that it's supposed to work. Program and potential. But thanks for calling. They appreciate it, and I'm hopeful that you're able to, get the assistance that you really need at this time.
Okay, Senator. Thank you so much for listening.
Okay, take care.
Thank you so much for doing what you're doing and continue the good work, because a lot of us are listening to you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Have a wonderful day.
No, we can't more than half of the time to the radio station, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, God bless you, sir.
Okay, bless you as well. Yeah, this home repair program, and I know that was going to surface again. I had a question that was posed from, and it doesn't have anything with the roofing program, but I suspect that it had something to do with a comment about the medicinal marijuana legislation, and in particular, I'm talking about Jesse Owens, who on Facebook posed the question, and the question that he asked is, how can something be amended if it was already legislated? And he goes on to say they don't know how to fill out paperwork right, and they don't know. Well, let me address the first question, which I think is a legitimate question. How do you amend something that have already been legislated, meaning legislation was already passed? Sometimes there is corrective measures for enactment or laws that have already been implemented. So in those corrective measures, let's say, for example, it's a piece of legislation, cumbersome, whether it was the seatbelt law, whatever it is, any senator and even the governor, by way of the legislature, the governor can send down legislation to correct any legislation or law that have already been implemented. So in this case, you had a law that was passed, which was medicinal marijuana legislation that was passed, and the governor felt that it was not far-reaching enough, or there were language in there that was deficient. But not only that, that the territory was bound to receive or generate more revenues if it was recreational, because medicinal marijuana is just confined to those who are in fact patients and would be entitled to a permit to in fact get for any particular treatment, whether it's glaucoma and several things based on the properties of the cannabis. And I'm going to refer to it as cannabis and not necessarily marijuana. So I just wanted to address that question. So the governor sent down what you call an amendment in the nature of a substitute Now, any senator can grab that legislation and by request offer it on the floor of the legislature and make that change to the law. So I hope that gave you some clarity and clearly explained to you what it's meant that you would actually provide amendments or provide legislation to change the law, to amend the law. Either to add, to subtract, to delete, or to create just new language or new section under a particular law. Okay? So, moving on with this discussion this morning, again, this is open discussion for any one of you that want to call in. I know that many of my listeners, they listen out and they sit down and wait for me, just want me to speak and to share as much information that I could possibly share. And that's what I try to do. I try to keep my listeners and viewers informed with a lot of things that are going on in the U.S. Virgin Islands that you may not know about. Now, it's not about what is our preferences. And when I say our preferences, I'm not a smoker, I'm not a drinker, and certainly if the legislative body deliberated to put something in place, that is a deliberative body that choose to weigh in on an issue, debate the issue, and make a determination on where, of course, majority rule, where a majority of senators feel that something would be beneficial for the Virgin Islands or not beneficial for the Virgin Islands, and of course appealing to their respective constituencies. We understand how it works for those of us who have served in public office. And in this instance here, they felt that the industry, cannabis, could be a windfall for the government of the Virgin Islands, where they could receive badly needed revenues into the coffers. But then the question that you have to step back, because the legislature sometimes get blamed for the administration failure to implement. So they could pass all the laws in the world. If they don't have a basic framework, that is, the administration have a strategic plan for implementation, it basically sits there to languish. Yes, folks, a law could be passed to create or build an initiative, and it sit there to languish because the respective parties or administrators did not take the time out to work out a strategic plan of implementation. So we're in a predicament right now that you hear them talk about it over and over. And of course, for some people, it may not be considered a bread and butter issue. It may not be considered, and people are concerned about their own isolated issues. And when I say isolated issues, it's no different from someone coming to an elected official and asking for your assistance. But you sitting behind your desk and telling them you dealing with Mary, Jane, Tom, and Jack, and you have a whole mountain of issues to deal with, and you fail to understand the sensitivity of that isolated situation where that person came to you to look for assistance. That person is not concerned about all the other stuff that you're entertaining, and that's where your leadership skills come into play. Because if you're unable to isolate situation and address them, accordingly, and be efficient and effective in providing assistance to that person, then you actually lose a level, or what is absent is a level of sensitivity and sensibility. So that constituent walks away feeling like they've been dismissed, feeling like you've wasted their time, and feeling really disappointed. So if that is a little bit of advice for even those who want to be leaders and those who aspire in different spectrums, political forums, to be able to avail themselves and be elected to public office, Go in with that in mind, that it's about your ability to address people's isolated concerns and issues. So this morning I opened up the airwaves to allow you to present, and I'm entertaining questions from everywhere. And those questions that I'm posing, of course, is for you to tell me what you're being confronted with. Tell me the positive. And if you notice, I'm not one of those radio hosts that try to screen calls. And if someone is calling in that is not the typical supporter that they put to call all the time to make sure that they don't present any difficult questions. No, I'm not one of those radio hosts. I'm not one of those radio hosts that is being compensated to lay accolades on any administration or anyone. No, I'm not one of those radio hosts. I'm a radio host that is unbiased. I'm a radio host that allow anyone to call in and express themselves. I've had folks call in here in the program as we had open discussion for them to be able to provide or ask whatever question or make whatever statement they want to make. Because as former elected officials, we have to do our utmost to understand the issues and to be able to respond to questions accordingly and consistently. And that I try to do. And what I don't know, I would be honest enough to tell you, give me at least a week or a few days to go and do some research and come back and answer your question. So I'm here to entertain all your questions. I'm here to have a dialogue, a discourse with any one of you on any subject matter, because that's what open discussion is all about. So, you know, I have to take the time out to even thank my sponsors. And starting with Catch of the Day. Catch of the Day that's located down in Cookie Point Beach. That is, serves surf and turf. And as they often say, from the sea or from the water to the pot to your mouth. And I have experienced that myself, going down there and getting fresh lobster, fresh conch, fresh wilks, of course, when they're in season. And it's just the way that they prepare it, right before your eyes. You ask for it, and you'll get it at Catch of the Day, located down in Cookie Point. And they're even serving breakfast now. They're at Breakfast on the Sand. And it's, again, Catch a Coffee, located there on Cookie Point Beach. Friendly environment, even a kiddies park if you want to put your child to go on the slide, and very friendly down there. And that's why I go to get my food. And I thank them for being one of my key sponsors. And of course, Hometown Gas Station, located up there on the bypass. And every one of you should know where Hometown Gas Station. I mean, they cook the bread that they bake in there, the butter bread, the wheat bread, but the French breads, it's to die for. And the fresh sandwiches that they provide. And right there before you, they have fresh food that was just cooked that day. You got to get there early though, especially if you want to go and get a breakfast sandwich. If you don't get there early, sandwiches are there done. By 7 o'clock and 8 o'clock in the morning, it's finished. But the food is just so fresh and so well seasoned. And that is Hometown Gas Station. And last but not least, Fine Print Consulting Services. And I won't say last but not least because I have one more. Fine Print Consulting Services, we try to provide the best services in preparing people or even writing correspondence for you, assisting you in respective businesses, both business ventures, drafting business plans, proposals, anything, you name it, and we do it. We believe in results. People matter and results count. And that is Fine Print Consulting Services. And last but not least, the Meetup, located right there in the shopping center where Cost You Less and Caribbean Cinemas are located. And it's a restaurant that a lot of people are starting to pay attention to because they have a cook in there by the name of Struggle. And I can't say to you enough the dishes that struggle cook. I mean, my favorite is salmon in butter sauce with mushrooms on it, with my broccoli. I don't eat too much of the starches, but they have a rice to die for as well. But they have so many more fishes. And when you talk dishes, and when you talk about the American dishes, they have a hangover hamburger. I don't know if he's still making it, but these things are wonderful dishes. That's at the meetup. And they have, it's like a sports setup. They have multiple screens in there where you can watch football, your favorite sport, and just interact. And on some nights, karaoke. So that is the meetup located between Casules and Caribbean Cinemas. And so back to the usual programming. You know, we got so much issues going on in the Virgin Islands, and one of the areas that I have great concerns with is the road paving. We've heard from 4 years ago, we had over $1 billion for infrastructure, and that includes roads. Okay, road repairs are coming. So the question us residents would ask, when? Because you may not think that it's costing you, but every time you drive your car, whether it's front wheel drive, rear wheel drive, or whatever it is, and it goes in a pothole, that could end up costing you in the very near future or down the road. And it becomes costly. We just want to see that there is some activity in these areas that you start spending the dollars. Because if you start a lot of road paving project, do you realize how many people can be employed out there? Whether they're holding the flags in the roadway, directing or helping to direct traffic, and it goes on and on, the different opportunities. But it helps contractors, some of these paving companies, to go out and employ a lot of people for the purpose of not just providing employment, for ultimately the purpose of being able to have those smooth surfaces where you can drive your car and don't have to worry about going on in a pothole. I saw some patchwork on the waterfront, and I commend the workers at Public Works, because whether it's the mill run that they're using or they're using new asphalt, they're paving and eliminating some of the rough surfaces on a main highway that affect people vehicles. So we want to be able to drive on a smooth surface. So for those that are listening to me, those administrators who are the responsible parties for spearheading these projects, making sure contracts are negotiated in record time and that they're able to go out there and execute them fully, that Virgin Islanders could see the results. That's what we want to see. So along that vein, we're talking about infrastructure. So in talking about infrastructure, school construction, school repairs, there's so many different areas where we're lacking. We want to see new schools being built. We want to see the schools being repaired. We want to see a lot of things moving to show that we're being responsible and we're managing those dollars. Do you guys realize that our inventory of accommodations, whether it's apartments, whether it's housing, but our inventory have significantly depleted? With hotels like Sugar Bay and the Marriott Frenchman's Reef being closed, do you realize that we have gone backwards as opposed to forward? Our inventory is less than it was 25, 30 years ago. That is a concern. But folks, I'm almost to the end of my hour. Well, I am to the end of my hours. 11 a.m. here in the U.S. Virgin Islands. And I have to say goodbye at this time. But I wanted again to thank my sponsors, Catch of the Day. And maybe I have a chance to entertain one call. One last call. Good morning, you on the air. Connect the dots.
Good morning. It is my understanding that each person that files for this housing help that is allowed to $250,000. Is that correct? Did you hear that?
No, I didn't hear that.
Up to 200.
Yeah, up to 250. Yeah, $250,000 per home. Yeah.
For room.
Yeah.
Why is it not that if you have a contractor that is licensed,
Yeah.
that is not in this program, why is it that you cannot hire that contractor to do the work as long as it's being monitored by housing authority?
Well, I think that one of the problems that a lot of local contractors are experiencing is what you call bonding. Bonding is a security on the project for the yeah, and
But in a situation like this, Francie,
Yeah.
for that bonding, there's things they can do to get the project moving, because every contractor can afford this, the company.
Yeah.
Try to build the program around the regulations in the Virgin Islands. You
Yeah.
understand?
yeah, yeah.
Have
You
a contractor, and he's being monitored by housing, and you can, if he put a brick and he can't go further and get any more money until he's do what he's supposed to do. The projects will get done. The houses will get. Because I understand a lot of the contractors don't even want to be involved with the government.
Yeah, yeah. And you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. And I will go as far as to say this on a closing note, because I'm out of time. On a closing note, I have offered myself in many respects, both to the administration and to companies, and because of my political station or political status as they assumed, I can say that on record, I'm one of the few people that have a certification in city management. And I want you to follow me on this now. A certification in city management. When you have a company like Witt O'Brien and other companies that just bring in their friends from outside, and you have political leaders here in the territory that allow these kind of things to happen, and not based on people's credentials, and at the same token, you don't see any level of effectiveness, and you don't see any efficiency, you don't see it accelerated, and I sit back and I see all the flaws even in their application. You can't get these projects moving. At the end of the day, is Virgin Islanders are being marginalized, not Adler Fonsi Donista. So when I sit back as a person who's certified in city management, and I hear all the smoke being blown by some of them, it's relatively disappointed. And I know this voice, and you know how I operate. I'm going to call a spade, but I just want to see things moving. If you want to see that Adler Fonsi Donesta is not a team player, that's another thing. But local contractors could be employed around here, and there is a way to set up bonding for them. So they need to stop their nonsense.
Right.
Get off your laurels. Be creative. Start thinking.
Right. They could be paying installments or something. Another thing is that you're supposed to take the money that you get from the insurance and turn it over to them.
It's just, and I'm telling you, it deeply bothers me. It deeply bothers me, because when you go in and you're saying, oh, the contractors can't get bonding, oh, they don't meet the requirements, oh, they don't this. In the meantime, you're allowing people to come from all outside. You don't know where they come from. You don't know what they did on projects out there. These are contractors locally that you live with. But here it is.
And do not know the code or anything, the way they put on it, the measurements and all kind of things, they mess up your home. I had to just drop it and go and get a loan from SBA, put myself in debt.
Yeah.
Because,
Again.
For the repair.
Yeah.
Not wait.
Yeah, a lot of people around here are disenfranchised. I'm telling you, a lot of people are disenfranchised. And I'm not just talking about homeowners who are waiting for a program to provide assistance to them. I'm talking also about a lot of little contractors who are willing to step forward. But no one has taken the time out to structure something that can work. And that's it's appalling what is taking place. But guess what? Sometimes we sit back and we allow these things to happen, and because we don't dive in to understand the intricacies of what is taking place, and we have people who are bankrupt in ideas, they sit down, and because they're fine, they don't care about anyone else. Well, they better be careful with this home repair program, that something is not looming that going to shed light on exactly what they're doing.
I hope the money doesn't go back, because if the money goes back, then we'll get less money the next time. Is that what it would be?
Exactly. Exactly. So anyway, I'm at the end of the hour. Thanks for calling. I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful day. And I just want to thank you for calling, and I hope that even with your challenges, that you're able to get some resolution. So I'm at the end of the hour, so I have to, I have to go. Okay, you take care. And folks, for each and every one of you that tune in to Connect the Dots, whether it's on social media or traditional radio, I want to thank you for tuning in every Monday. And of course, you know, sometimes I'm on my soapbox, but I get passionate about these things because Adler Fonsi down the store, just like each and every one of you that reside here and have extended family, for those Virgin Islanders who are abroad, take special interest and continue to be interested in the development socially and economically here in the U.S. Virgin Islands. So I try to be the platform, and I try to provide you with that outlet for you to be able to share your thoughts, findings in some instances, and concerns with what is going on in the Virgin Islands. So until next Monday, I just want to wish each and every one of you a productive day and a blessed week. Take care.
Please log in to your mobile phone, television, computer for live streaming or your nearest radio. It's now time to listen to Connecting the Dots. People come, let we go. Turn up the radio. Turn it up. This is the people show. No matter where we go. Connecting people. We all love you. We are here for you. We can hear you. Connecting people. People come, let we go. Turn up the radio. Turn it up. This is the people show. No matter
stop when the clock hits 13. You've been working, but you're flirting.